Okay, welcome everybody to this special regional council meeting of June 10th. I'll just take this opportunity to acknowledge this meeting being held in the traditional territory of our friends and our neighbors, our Treaty 8 partners, the Fort Nelson First Nation, as well as the Prophet River First Nation. We recognize our treaty. We recognize the rights within that treaty. We also recognize the enduring presence and contributions of the Métis Nation in our region. Please be advised that today's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually and is being streamed and recorded. Are there any council additions? Staff? No, Mayor. Thank you. Are there any public who would wish to make a comment on anything that's on this afternoon's agenda? Online? In the gallery? Okay, adoption of the agenda in this order, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Gerwig, second by Councillor Andrews. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. That brings us to the reports and bylaws. So the first administration report number 37, 26 municipal and regional tax program. Staff, please. Oh, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I have to switch up my welcome apparently. So this report comes to you from conversations with the Tourism Advisory Committee. So they've been in conversations looking at funding for tourism and how we can continue to build more support for the tourism industry and marketing and all the things that have come out of the diversification strategy as well as the tourism strategy. And MRDT, so Municipal Regional District Tax, is one of those potential opportunities. They have had a presentation by a consultant who specializes in it and have been reviewing it for a couple meetings now and thought that it was at the time to bring it to council's attention and see if there's general support from council to move into engaging with the accommodation providers. So as part of, if the municipality chose to try to move through this process, one of the pieces is a requirement to have over 50% vote from accommodation providers. So you have to have support from 50% plus of the rooms, as well as 50% of the actual accommodation providers to move into an application to implement this type of a tax. So at this point, the Tourism Advisory Committee is wondering if there's support to start those engagements and see what the interest might be at the stakeholder level.
Thank you, Krista, for that. Does council have any thoughts? Councillor Andrews?
So just a quick clarification, the outlook of the plan would be for a potential 2 to 3% tax added to accommodations at the accommodations in our municipality.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if we did go forward, it is, they set the designated area based off of, so for us, it would equate to the whole regional municipality because that's our border. Whereas like say the city of Fort St. John, they could do just their township. And then it would be a tax that's added on just the stay in accommodations. So when somebody comes to our community, there would be that extra, say 2 or 3% added to that stay. And then that would be remitted through the same process as that the business is currently used for PST. It would be remitted through that process, and then the Ministry of Finance redirects it to the organization that's set up under the application. So all those like really fine details we would get into, and you would see additional reports coming forward. But at this point, it really needs to have that support from the accommodation. So we just kind of want to start having conversations if there's at least that level of interest.
Anybody else?
I think it's a really interesting idea, and I can imagine it would have a wide variety of intake from providers. For example, if we had a lot of industry going on at the same time and all the hotels were full and motels were full, and then you try to ask for a 2 or 3% tax for tourism, that would maybe be seen like, well, what's that? Like, what do I need that for? But then again, when you're on a highway and you don't have a whole bunch of interest, and I'd be really curious. I kind of like to hear the viewpoint of the providers, because I think it will be a strong indicator of our focus, how much focus we should put into the tourism as an industry idea. And I'm looking forward to the information.
I'm in the same place. You know, I'm neutral right now, but I certainly would like to hear what the providers have to say. And, you know, if this is just authorizing us to go out and do a bit of a public process with those providers, then I'm all for that. Yeah, I'd be very interested to listen to their feedback. And then I'm sure there'll be another what we heard report come back to us, and then yeah, so I'm looking forward to that too. Anybody else? Comment? No? Okay, so what do you wish us? There's a recommendation there.
I'd like to motion that staff begin engagement and discussions with local accommodation providers regarding the potential to implement a municipal and regional district tax within the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Andrews, second by Councillor Soul. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Are there any opposed? That carries. Okay, that brings us to amendment report 38. Tourism Advisory Committee recommendation for tourism permitting. You're up again.
I'm still here. So this one also comes from conversations at the Tourism Advisory Committee and is a actual full recommendation from the TAC. So Bev is also here if you have any questions for one of the chairs. Conversations about permitting issues are ongoing. They've been happening since the Tourism Advisory Committee was initiated, that there's challenges around what permits do you need, who do you need them from. You might need multiple different ones if you're especially in our area where there's so many different protected areas and parks, and then just the timing of actually being able to get them or getting notice of their process. So there's a whole variety of challenges, but the province has recently put out an adventure tourism permitting hub, which right now is only supportive to very specific adventure companies, primarily helicopter-based or snowmobile-based. So the TAC thought that this was a good opportunity to kind of highlight maybe that's a step in the right direction, but that there's a lot of other tourism businesses that also need a permitting hub or some way of having efficient and reliable permitting. So there are two recommendations kind of tied together related to that, and just maintaining that awareness at the council level.
Okay, thanks for that report, Krista. We got some feedback when we were in Toad River too, with respect to permitting and, you know, how it's slowing down. So I don't have any trouble with writing a letter, and the bit about UBCM, I think we've already requested. I think that was on our list to request a meeting with the minister.
Yeah.
So this definitely can fit into that. Anybody else?
Yeah, we'd just like to
Definitely.
add something to the recommendation. I noticed that the NCLGA is not included in one of the options, and I think that they should be. So before anybody makes a motion, we could maybe add in the NCLGA, so we then don't have to do a friendly amendment, and you know how that all goes, right? So just thinking in terms of process.
I think we're ready.
Okay, so I would make a motion that Regional Council send a letter to the province of British Columbia requesting the expansion of the provincial tourism permitting hub to include all outdoor tourism opportunities, and that Regional Council continue advocating through organizations such as the Union of BC Municipalities and the North Central Local Government Association and relevant provincial ministries for broader improvements to provincial tourism permitting processes.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Goring,
That was awesome. I'll second it.
second by Councillor Andrews. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the report. That brings us to admin report 3926, the award of the raw water pond number 3 sediment removal and approval of additional funding. Yeah, right. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So this report speaks to the raw water pond 3 sediment removal project that was put out for a tender in May. We're looking to award to Tangle Ridge and then ask for additional withdrawal from the water reserve fund of $190,000. The initial project was approved in the 2026 budget process for $510,000, which covered the permitting, construction, associated consulting fees, contract admin, site inspections. This is a kind of a 3-year project. We plan on doing pond 3 this year, pond 2 in 27, and then pond 1 in 28. We had three submissions. However, one of them withdrew shortly after the closing due to some internal issues on their submission, I guess. So remaining submissions were reviewed. It was Tangle Ridge was viewed as compliant and qualified to complete the scope. So through the bid process, their bid only addressed the construction costs, not the consulting requirements. So we reviewed their submission. There was some material increases for protecting the clay liner in the pond, which was unforeseen. And then the removal rates were higher. Just due to the complexity of the work. It's not a typical construction project, where we took our estimates from. And then the fifth elevation was also quite a bit higher than what we had estimated. It's also a fairly specialized work, which there's not a lot of insight on what typical costs are. So we, through our engineers, took our best case of what we thought the cost would be based on their experience, and we're a little lower than what the prices came back at. So we're looking for an additional $190,000 to be taken from the water reserve fund so we can complete this project. We're also, a benefit of Tangle is they're completing our road project up in the Miniker Crescent and are able to utilize the material that they're taking from that to build the road into pond 3, which will save hauling costs and future costs. We're asking that they haul the remaining material down there as well for the future projects, and that'll help reduce those costs for the pond 2 and pond 1 as well. So that's kind of where we.
So thanks for that, Josh. So this is a price that we can expect for each of the ponds, right?
That would be our
Yeah.
our guess. We considered retendering, but I think with a retender, you're just going to look at higher costs, and then the complexity around either pushing the projects out a year, just doing 2 ponds in a year is I think unmanageable with the raw water storage and usage and your pumping window.
Right. So the intent is just for this year, just for this raw water 3 pond,
Yeah,
not for 2 or 1. That'll be retendered.
that'll be retendered. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I was just not sure if we were giving it to them for this year and then including the other 2 years at the same rate, or if it would be retendered.
Yeah, no, it would just be reevaluated and retendered
Okay.
for pond 2 and pond 1.
Good. That's the only question I had. Does anybody else have a question?
And how often do we have to desludge?
These 2 ponds, to my recollection, have never been desludged.
One was,
One was done in 2010,
And that's
that
number
was
1?
pond 1, yeah.
okay.
And that one's last on our completion list.
So these 2 haven't been done before, so there's
No.
probably lots to clean up.
Yeah, and we installed fish screens in those last year, and there was noted that there was quite a bit of sediment
Sludge.
in the bottom of it when they were down there.
Counselor Schultz?
These 2 ponds have been talked about for a long time. I was just thinking that if we'd have even put a tiny, I mean, this is how reserve funds are really valuable. As you build reserves into your water desludging program, we've had years and years and years and years and years to build up a reserve to desludge. I wonder if the sludge is quite a bit deeper now than when I started on council in 2011. Oh, yes, it probably is. Anyway, I was just thinking about this it's timely. It's time to get this going. And I kind of appreciate the process that you've undertaken and the linkage, the synergy between the job that's already going on. I like that. That's an efficiency that we can find. But I think that it will be really instructive because we haven't done one in a long time to nail down one and get this one figured out and encourage them to put on a fishing derby where you're allowed nets because it's not a provincial water and whatever else first, and you make this into something the community really loves. Anyway, just a recommendation.
Anybody else? What are your wishes?
I'd motion that the raw water pond number 3 sediment removal contract be awarded to Tangle Ridge Custom Crushing Limited in the amount of $547,025.50 plus contingency and applicable taxes. And that the budget for the raw water pond desludging project be increased from $510,000 to $700,000, and that the contribution from the water reserve fund be increased to $700,000.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Andrews. Do I have a seconder? And Councillor Souls. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor or any opposed? That passes. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to item 5.4 on the agenda, the election procedure amending bylaw number 246, 2026. Yeah, please.
Hello, Mayor and councillors. So as part of our 2026 elections process to start off our election season, we took a look at our bylaw and noted that it had a good overhaul in 2018. It wasn't needed to be updated in 2022. And we noted from the 2022 season that there were a couple timelines regarding mail-in ballots that were a bit restrictive for signing up for mail-in ballots, as well as the timeline to put the packages together, send them out to residents, and then have them send them back to be here on time. So we extended the timeline to 5 days instead of 3 days to send them out. And we removed the requirement to only sign up 10 days prior. So now you can sign up for your mail-in ballot as soon as that's available. So those two changes are noted and it's up for your consideration.
Thank you. Questions? It's pretty straightforward. We got some good feedback when we were in Toad because there's, potential for mail-in ballots from there for sure. So that was a good discussion we had at Toad around this. So I'm good. Council? Anybody else? No? What are your wishes?
A motion that the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality Election Procedure amending bylaw number 246, 2026 be given first, second, and third readings.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Andrews. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Souls. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Those are carried. Okay, so that brings us to correspondence. So the first letter is from Our Blood Counts, Plasma for Northern BC, looking for discussion on that. So we move it for discussion, please. Moved by Councillor Andrews, second by Councillor Souls. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So it's open for discussion. Do I have it here or it's on the other? So essentially they're looking for support to where's my other agenda? For a blood clinic in the Northeast BC.
Yeah.
Anybody have any thoughts?
Yeah, I do. I
Please.
think, like I was moving here from Manitoba, I was 1990, we used to collect blood at our hospital. And then that was discontinued. There was a mobile unit that used to come up and do its thing. And then, yeah, and to know that we can't even donate in Prince George, I think is missing an awful lot of the population of BC. So I would absolutely be in support of advocating for at least Prince George to get a donation center.
So I agree with that. You know, I know I would attend if there was a place that I could go. I mean, I could travel to Prince George, you know, a few times a year and Fort St. John more often than that. And so I know if it was a place that was available, I'd make an appointment and give blood because I think it's an important thing for us to do. But anybody else? So a motion would be in order, I think, if there's nobody opposed to this, for us to support these folks. Write them a letter and give them support. Anybody like to make that motion?
Yeah, I'd like to motion that Northern Rockies Regional Municipalities support a blood plasma donor center program in Northern BC. What else do we need on there?
That's really it.
That'll be good. Perfect.
Do I have a seconder? Moved by Councillor Andrews, second by Deputy Mayor Goodwin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Okay, second letter for discussion is a letter from Robin Gubler, Vice Chair of the Northern Trails Historical Society. Support for the Northern Trails Heritage Society Doors Open Summer 2026 program. Somebody move that for discussion, please. Moved by Councillor Andrews, second by Deputy Mayor Gerwing. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So I think we supported this last year. I think we sent a donation of $250 to the museum as part of this. Does staff recall?
Yes, it came out of your discretionary account.
Did it? I'm happy to do that again this year. It's kind of small for trying to go through the policy that we have, right? So coming out of the mayor's discretionary fund makes some sense. Okay,
So I'd see there's two amounts in here there for your local communities initiative of 250 or regional initiative for 500. So with us being a regional municipality, do we hit the 500 window? Do we know?
not sure.
I think
Wait. Regional would be Peace.
Fort St. like
Fort
the
St.
whole
John.
North piece, right? So local, I'm assuming it's the Northern Rockies, yeah.
Kim was here last year and she spoke to it a little bit and I think she said they were participating and so I suspect it's all the same, so. Did staff have something to say? I saw you guys wiggling down there.
I was just going to mention that because they're not a Northern Rockies based entity, they wouldn't be eligible under the government transfers policy.
That's pretty small anyway, so. Okay, then if we can have a motion for us to support this and $250 from the mayor's discretionary account would be awesome.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Andrews. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Souls. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, there's no new business, so I think at this time we could move into a closed unless there's we'll go through this other stuff. Is there any public who wishes to talk about? Please, Bev. Step up to the mic. There's one right here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to comment on the permitting conversation that you had during the meeting. I was just recently in Fort St. John at the BC Chamber AGM, and I had an opportunity to sit down with Minister Kaylon. And we had quite a good discussion about permitting from not just a tourism perspective, but from a business perspective, you know, being able to get permits for virtually anything is impossible. He did say that they are actively working on a permitting, I'll call it a hub for lack of a better word, that will hopefully eventually allow businesses that are applying for permits to apply through one main center, and then that would move the permit through all of the departments that require eyes on it. So currently, if you need a permit from the Ministry of Forests, they look at it and they say, okay, yeah, that's okay with us, but Fisheries needs to look at it, and then it goes over to Fisheries, and the whole process starts over, and then they say, well, Environment needs to look at it, and it starts all over again. So hopefully he did commit that the government is working on streamlining. We'll see how that goes, but just wanted you to know that we are also having those conversations from that broader perspective. Thanks.
Good. I remember this. This is not the first time they've tried something like this. If you remember, I can't remember the year, but it was the Oil and Gas Commission, right? And they started cherry picking people from forestry and from environment and from oil and gas and try to put them in one place. And, you know, here we are still waiting for permits. So, but
That's
You know.
essentially what Front Counter BC was supposed to do
Yeah.
as well. But
yeah,
It's
so
not
we'll
back to-
we'll see how this all pans out. We can only hope for the best, right? Okay, good. So we need to go in camera for a bit of a meeting for section 90J of the community charter, which is information that is provided or in a document which is prohibited from disclosure under section 21 business interests of a third party of the Freedom of Information Protection Privacy Act. So moved by Councillor Souls, second by Councillor Andrews. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll just take a couple minutes and then we'll. Okay, thank you, everybody. Our closed portion of this meeting is completed. There is nothing to report at this time. And so we will adjourn this special meeting. Moved by Councillor Souls, second by Councillor Andrews. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We are adjourned.